Oh, hold on. What's up, my peoples? It's your main man, Armin Gideon. The final battle. Armin Gideon, the Mede. That name simply means the final battle. Because you're in a fight for your life. Of course, you know, also known as Dr. Life in the business of saving lives. Also known as RPG, the rugged prophetic ghost. Alien in this nation. We live in this world, we not of this world is not our home. Here to share and reveal the blueprint of how to trade places. That's what the fight of your life is about. The fight of your life is about you've been stripped of your titles. You've been stripped of your name. Your image has been defamed. Just like Cassius Clay, the rumble in the jungle. Good old Uncle Sam, the U.S., good old Uncle Sam has stripped Cassius Clay of his title. They stripped him of his championship name and what he worked and earned with his own hands. They stripped, they took the wealth he amassed. They devoured it. And then the champion had to become the challenger. You in a fight for your life. It's the rumble in the jungle again. And just like Cassius Clay. See, that name rings bells, Cassius Clay. I am the potter, you are the clay. His mama named him Clay, I'ma call him Clay. And you better know, just like Cassius Clay. They use the word divide and conquer for a reason. They use the other term order out of chaos for a reason. It's not one attack. You don't have to prepare for the attack from one side, one direction. The attack comes from all four directions, north, south, east, west. The crossroads of the attack, order out of chaos. The attack comes from the north and the south. So when you try and retreat away from what you call your opposition, well, you need to learn from Cassius Clay. When you run happily into the arms of the controlled opposition, see, he was so hard trying to run away from the oppressor, the so-called white man as the oppressor, that he ran willingly into the open arms of the controlled opposition that same white man oppressor controlled. Then he gave up his name and took on a name that the same oppressor that he was running from controlled. Muhammad Ali. That's why his life was no better. His life was no better running from the oppressor because he unwittingly did not realize that all throughout history, the whole game has been this order out of chaos, this divide and conquer. And when I divide you, I'm going to have somebody from your own identity, from your own background, from your own culture that we gave you, from your own group of labeled, contrived names that we gave you, instead of the name that the Creator gave you. I am the potter, you are my clay. When you run into the arms of anything but that Creator, for your identity, for your name, for your title, for your likeness, you're running into the arms of the same exact opposition. All throughout history, them so-called Muslim brothers robbed and stole from Muhammad Ali just as much, if not more, than the so-called white man that he was running from. They robbed and stole his wealth while he was fighting to get back his championship. The so-called Muslim brothers ate up his wealth. His children starving. Wives, no bread. The so-called white man ain't do that to Muhammad Ali. You need to understand and learn. You need to understand and learn these lessons, because humanity has done the same thing with the Word of God. Humanity has done the same mistake with the Word of God. Humanity has allowed the oppressor to control and use the Word of God and get God's children to run away from the Word of God, as if the oppressor, who's trying to use the Word of God to his advantage, knowing that Lucifer himself, Satan the serpent himself, came to the Creator of heaven and earth and tried to use that same Word of God as a weapon to deceive the master. And the master showed the example of how to repel the lying, deceiving serpent and all of his children when they tried to use God's own words against him and his children. But no, his children, instead of using the same example, the serpent used the Word of God and quoted from the Word of God. And the master rejected the serpent with untwisted, unmangled words of his own that rebuked him. But yet you got these African American, you got these Pan-African, you got these pseudo-Christian, you got these pseudo-Hebrew, pseudo-everything. They all are undercover implants, transplants of the oppressor themselves, children of the father of lies, whose job is to use the Word of God to distort so that you would reject the Word of God and run happily into the arms, waiting arms of Satan himself, with a whole nother ideology and faith that he has created. So you're going to run from the true word of the one who said, let there be light, and there was. The one who breathed the breath of life into your nostrils, and you became a living soul. All of these other belief systems don't have no breath of life to put in your lungs. You are unfaithfully breathing breath of life, acknowledging fallen faith. That's called mercy. That's called grace. But you know what? Mercy and grace has a close of probation on it. Mercy and grace has an end to it. He said, during the time of ignorance, I winked on that. But now I call all men. Everybody breathing my breath of life. Y'all run around here and y'all claim that someone who is powerless to do anything, a group of children who are powerless to do anything on their own, all they could do is lie and distort. And all you got to do is what the master did. Man, listen, get thee behind me. All you got to do is stand on that same word that they got you running from. He said, doesn't it say that thou should not tempt the Lord thy God? You're in the fight of your life. You're in the fight of your life. Rumble in the jungle. Get your title and your image back. And they'll stole your image. And they'll stole your titles. Sons and daughters of God. They done stole your title. Let us make Elohim in our image. And the moment that Elohim started following after the ways of Cain, the Creator no longer called his created children Elohim. He no longer called the fallen children Elohim. They had lost their title. They had lost their name that was above every name. Then he said, when the sons of God saw the daughters of men. He said, when humans began to increase on the earth, when humans fallen from grace, didn't these same people run around here talking about enlightenment? These same people run around here talking about illuminated ones? If in the Stone Age you had a quest for fire, if at any period in your existence you had a quest for fire, a quest for anything. See, they get you to question the word of God, yet stand on a historical record of Atlantis, Stone Age, Prehistoric Age, Jurassic Age, evolutionary, evolving from ape to this to that. And when you claim that, you a slave to that. When you acknowledge that trash, wherever rung they put you on in that trash, then that becomes your reality. Because you claimed it. In that trash that they created, that myth, that fantasy, the reality was like this. The only individuals who experienced a dark age existence, a stone age existence, was the one who said, my punishment is more than I can bear. Cain himself declared, after he had violated 3 times, rejected the covenant 3 times, sealed the deal by shedding his brother's blood. Then when judgment was pronounced, when he was convicted, when he was indicted, sentenced, tried, convicted, and punishment was issued, he declared, my punishment is more than I can bear. I will be separated from your presence. Now all of my parents and brothers and sisters, none notice, he said, when my brothers find me, they will kill me. God said, not so. Not so. You're going to serve this whole sentence. You ain't getting off easy. A quick death and execution won't even serve justice. No, you're going to do this whole time. Quadruple life, what you going to do? Then you're going to be executed. Notice, Cain himself declared, my brothers, when they find me, they will kill me. His brothers that he was speaking of weren't Neanderthals. His brothers that he was speaking of weren't cavemen. His brothers that he was speaking of were the descendants of Adam and Eve, the perfect Adam, the perfect Eve, who God gave dominion over all of the works of his hand. They wasn't questioning for no fire. They wasn't questioning for nothing. They wasn't in search of nothing. They had everything. Their narrative of how the human existence came forth, it don't even line up, not even with Cain. Because Cain had the ability to bring forth fruit from the ground. Listen, that existence, the caveman Neanderthal existence, when they tell it to you in the evolutionary period, they didn't develop the ability to bring forth harvest for themselves until years. Like, they were so primitive, they didn't have the tools, they didn't have nothing. Yet, people buy into that trash and knowledge. No, Cain and his children became what evolution points to as Neanderthals, because he was separated from the wisdom. He was separated from the knowledge. He was separated from the presence. He was separated from the wealth. He was separated from the greatness. He was separated from the throne. He was separated from the prosperity. He was separated. That's what happens when you go to prison. That's what happens when you get locked in solitary confinement on death row. But because he was the only one that did the crime, he was the only one that experienced that life. And all of his children who followed in his footsteps served that same sentence. And then grace and mercy is grace and mercy. All of his children who followed a mama's example, who was following Adam and Eve's example, lived a prosperous life simultaneously. While Cain and his children that followed him was in darkness, Genesis 4:25 tells the story of Cain's lineage. First four sons that Cain's wife, it says Cain knew his wife and built a city for their first son called Enoch. Enoch Cain, not Enoch Adam. Enoch Cain. Cain built the city. He had already been marked. He had to go indoors. He had to wander from cave to cave because the mark was a mark that was skit on this. It was visible. You could visibly see. He stripped them of melanin and melatonin, which allows individuals to go into the sun and soak up vitamin D. When you lack melanin and melatonin, example, individuals, the medical community calls it vitiligo. Medical community also calls people who are fully had that same full condition that Cain has, albinos. It's simply being deficient of pigmentation in your eyes, in your skin, in your hair. Simply being deficient. I'm having technical difficulties with this video, so I'm gonna have to play it when I come back. You're in a fight for your life. It's the rumble in the jungle. And all of these lessons throughout life, throughout history, were simply individuals being presented with an opportunity to settle their accounts with the Creator. Settle their accounts. What account am I talking about? Every resource, every talent. Cain had been given the talent to be able to produce fruit from the ground. That is a blessing. That is a gift from the Creator. Just like the breath of life is a gift. Every gift, you're supposed to present glory and praise to the Father, the Creator, who gave you the talent, the gift, the breath of life, the knowledge, everything. You're supposed to give glory. That's thanks. That's praise. That's acknowledgement of the Creator's authority over your life, saying thank you, and I'm going to put this to use in your service to present you with a return on this investment in me. This is an exchange. An investment must produce a return. And as long as you have the investment, all the Word of God is a documented account. It's a documented account of accounts that have been settled with God and accounts that have not. And all throughout the history of the Word, individuals who have received blessing after blessing, resource after resource, an account has been opened. And the Creator has said, those who settle their accounts properly will have their names found written in the Lamb's Book of Life. This is accounting. This is the family business. This is the audit. That investment is a loan. And He's saying, you better use it in my service. Produce a return so that you can pay back when I come to receive my investment. But if you bury your talent in the sand, if you throw your pearls to the swine, if you sow your seed with the wicked and produce no return, it's not going to let you off the hook. I'm still expecting my full payment. And if you don't have it, when I come to collect, you still got to pay. That's all the word of God is, a historical record of those who've received and been faithful with the investment. You have the faithful and then the unfaithful. Those who have faithfully taken all of the blessings that he's given, done exactly as he commanded, and that he blessed those resources to flourish so that he could bless his other children. He blesses all of humanity through chosen and called humanity. And when chosen and called humanity fails to be faithful stewards, that's all the word of God is. It's an accounting method. Accounts payables and accounts receivable. Those who are in debt to me is accounts payable. Those who I have received, who have been faithful, that's accounts receivable. Then you transfer the ledgers to the journal. When you finalize in the books every month, you start afresh. That's called close of probation moments. That's the flood. He had accounts payables, and he had Noah and his children and their wives accounts receivable. Close out the account. Move it over to the ledger. Names written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. Names written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Accounts receivable outside of the ark of safety. Received all of my blessings. Received all of my everything. Were unfaithful with that which I gave them. Went and followed the ways of Cain. Received the mark of Cain. Received the separation. Lived the Stone Age Neanderthal lifestyle. Wow, my children from Adam to Noah were the kings of the earth, kings of the world, the whole globe. Same thing in our day today. Same thing in our day today. The serpent has his children Cain coming and seducing from the sons of God. This is what Muhammad Ali fell victim to. Sons of God who no longer were following and no longer were faithful to the resources, who follow after the same pagan customs of Cain. They just happen to have the same skin color of Cassius Clay. So he rejected the advances and the persecution of Cain's children because of skin color, because he could visibly see the mark. The word of God said, by their fruit you shall know them. By their actions you shall know them. And just because his Muslim brothers shared the same color with him, but they shared the same exact actions, he was deceived into aligning himself and throwing all of his hard work to the swine. He might as well stay with Uncle Sam. It's the same thing. It's worse. You always pay double when you got a middleman. Because the middleman going to take his cut, and Uncle Sam always taking his cut. It's double slavery. It's double bondage. All because of the skin color add up. When the Creator said, listen, man, you won't be deceived by this if you look at their fruits and their actions. If Uncle Sam robbing you, and those calling themselves your Muslim brothers is robbing you too, then obviously they are brothers and stand in opposition to me. No, but because Cain switched up his thing and stopped claiming the serpent and started putting the name of Christ on him. Because Cain's children wised up and saw that they was losing all throughout history. So then when they took on the name Christianity, but lived the same exact lifestyle, they presented themselves to the Creator's children the same way that the serpent presented himself to the Creator in the desert. In it, Satan came as speaking the word of God. Satan came to Christ as a Christian. He tempted Christ through Christianity. It's nothing new. That's why God, that's the whole reason why God endured the test, to eliminate all excuses. There is no excuse for you falling for that deception. There's no excuse for no person under the sun who has walked away from the word of God, who has embraced lies about the word of God, through Satan using the word of God to get you to reject it. That's always been his ploy. He did it with Adam and Eve. He twisted the word of God. You should not surely die. Didn't God say that if you touched this tree, you would die? I'm in it. You would not surely die. No. Just like he told Cain. He told Cain's brothers not to kill him. Cain was going to die. God didn't lie. Satan been using them same deceptions. God just says, yo, when you unfaithful and when you choose to become the serpent seed, oh, you're going to do the whole time. Shedding of my child's blood is costly. You're going to be a vagabond, a restless wanderer. You're going to be a Neanderthal. You're going to wander the earth for your entire worthless life. The ground ain't going to produce fruit in its kind. You're going to be starving. You're going to be destitute. You're going to be cold. You're going to be ignorant. You're going to be without fire, without the ability and the knowledge to provide for yourself. You're already paranoid, thinking that everybody wants to kill you. You're going to be the weakest, loneliest, miserable for choosing the wrong master to serve. You're going to be a slave to Satan, who you chose. That's the life you chose. That's what happens to people when they choose Satan. Understand the price. That is the price. When you get double-crossed and you get allured into worshiping Satan under the guise of his children, you end up living the life that I just described, and African Americans especially. They cry about the mistreatment and cry about the mistreatment and cry about the mistreatment that they received at the hands of the Europeans. And they always talk about, we ain't gonna serve your white Jesus. And so they run into the arms of Islam and Buddhism and 5% Nation and they run into all of these other things when that's Satan presenting himself in Christianity as Roman Catholicism, and always has been, as Caesar. God judged and condemned Caesar. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. Caesar don't own nothing, because Cain don't own nothing. Cain and Caesar are vagabonds. That's exactly what God was telling you. Caesar don't have nothing. I'm going to go into this temple and turn over the tables of the money changers that got all his face on it. He don't own nothing. But you want to render your life to him, you're going to be a slave. Don't come crying, talking about this and that, because I came and I bled and died. I went through everything that you're going to go through to keep you from falling for the deception. And then you're going to let him come and use my name, put on righteousness, and deceive you? Okay. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm going to come back later.